The avoidant expects to be the one who leaves, and being left is shattering their entire identity. Not surface identity, not performed self, deep identity, core identity, identity built on being the one who controls distance. Who determines closeness? Who decides when relationship is too much? Who chooses when to leave? Who has power to end things? The leaver identity is fundamental to their defended state, is how they maintain control, is how they prevent abandonment by being abandoned, is how they stay safe through being the one who withdraws first. Who creates distance first? Who ends things first before being ended? The first lever is protection, is strategy, is defended identity that keeps them secure, keeps them powerful, keeps them in control. And control through being potential lever is what makes intimacy tolerable, makes relationship survivable, makes vulnerability possible at all, because vulnerability has escape hatch, has exit strategy, has them being able to leave if being left becomes imminent. And able to leave first is their core security, is what lets them engage at all, is what makes defended relationship possible. But empath left them, not threatened to leave, not said maybe I should go, actually left, actually ended it, actually walked away, actually became the lever when avoidant is supposed to be the lever. When avoidance' entire strategy depends on being the lever. When avoidance' defended identity is built on controlling who leaves, and controlled leaving is shattered, is destroyed, is revealed as illusion through empath actually leaving. Through empath taking power, avoidant thought was theirs exclusively. Through empath doing what avoidant does, what avoidant is supposed to do, what avoidant needs to do to maintain defended identity. But empath did it first. Did it definitively? Did it completely? Done by empath. Is ultimate shock? Is defended identity crumbling? Is core strategy failing? Is avoidant being on receiving end of what they do to others? And receiving end is position they organized entire life to avoid, position their patterns were designed to prevent, position their defended state was built to make impossible. But impossible happened. Empath left. Empath ended it. Empath walked away. And walked away empath is avoidant being dumped, being left, being abandoned, being on wrong side of ending, and wrong side is ultimate shock. Is everything reversed? Is them experiencing what they do to people? Is role reversal that's destroying defended understanding of who they are, of how relationships work, of who has power to end things, and power to end taken by empath is power removed from avoidant. Is control lost? Is strategy failed? Is identity shattered? Is ultimate shock of being dumped by person who was supposed to stay, who was supposed to accommodate, who was supposed to be the one who got left, not the one who leaves, and one who leaves is empath. Is empath being dumper? Is empath having power? Is empath controlling ending? Is empath doing what avoidants do? An avoidant behavior from empath is ultimate shock, is complete reversal, is identity crisis, is them being left when they're supposed to be leaver. And being left is destroying everything they thought they knew about themselves and relationships and power and control, and who does the leaving. And empath does the leaving is answer that's shocking them, that's devastating them, that's destroying their defended identity completely. Why being dumped by empath is different from being dumped by anyone else. Empaths are supposed to stay, are supposed to understand, are supposed to see beneath patterns to wound, are supposed to have infinite patience, are supposed to accommodate defended state indefinitely, are supposed to never give up, are supposed to always give more chances, are supposed to wait, are supposed to hope, are supposed to believe in potential, are supposed to sacrifice themselves before sacrificing relationship. The supposed to is avoidance assumption about empaths. Is their understanding based on empath's history, based on empath's pattern, based on empath being person who stayed through everything, who understood through everything, who gave chances through everything. And gave chances through everything is why avoidant thought empath would never leave, would never be done, would never choose themselves over understanding avoidant, would never protect themselves over accommodating connection. The never leave assumption is why being left is shocking, is why being dumped is devastating, is why empath ending it is identity shattering. Because empaths don't leave, empaths stay, empaths accommodate, empaths sacrifice themselves before ending relationship. And sacrificed self before ending is what avoidant expected, what avoidant depended on, what avoidant built their strategy around. Built security around empath always staying, always understanding, always giving more chances. Always being there no matter what, and no matter what is revealed as actually matter greatly, is revealed through empath leaving, through empath being done, through empath choosing themselves, through empath protecting themselves, through empath enforcing boundary that ends relationship. And ended by empath is shocking, because empaths don't end things, don't dump people, don't leave avoidance, don't choose themselves over understanding patterns, don't protect themselves over accommodating defended state, don't enforce boundaries over maintaining connection. But this empath did. This empath dumped them, this empath left, this empath chose themselves. And chose themselves is empath doing what empaths don't do. Is empath being dumper when empaths are supposed to be accommodators, and accommodator becoming dumper is ultimate shock? Is role avoidant never thought empath would take? Is ending avoidant never thought empath would enforce? And enforced ending by empath is different, is more shocking, is more devastating, is more identity shattering than being dumped by anyone else. Because anyone else leaving makes sense. Anyone else getting fed up is understandable. Anyone else choosing themselves is expected eventually. But empath leaving doesn't make sense. Empath being fed up is incomprehensible. Empath choosing themselves is unimaginable. And unimaginable happened is shock. Is ultimate shock. Is empath doing what empaths don't do? What this empath specifically never did before, never threatened before, never seemed capable of before, but is capable, did do it, did dump avoidant, did leave, did choose themselves, and chose themselves is empath being different person. Being person with boundaries, being person with limits, being person with self-respect, being person who won't sacrifice indefinitely, being person who can leave, being person who did leave, and did leave is shock, is ultimate shock, is empath being dumped. Is everything reversed? Is identity shattered? Is defended strategy failed? Is ultimate shock of being on receiving end of what avoidants do, of being left by person who was supposed to stay, of being dumped by empath, and dumped by empath is different, is shocking, is devastating, is ultimate, is complete, is shattering, is them being left when they're supposed to be leaver, and being left by empath is ultimate shock. The specific moment the shock hits hardest. Shock hits when they go to withdraw, and discover withdrawal creates permanent distance, not temporary space. They do their usual pattern. Create distance expecting empath to manage it. Withdraw expecting empath to maintain connection through the withdrawal. Pull back expecting empath to hold relationship together while they regulate themselves through defended distance. The expected pattern is empath pursuing, empath reaching out, empath closing distance. Empath doing work of maintaining connection while avoidant creates disconnection. The expected response is how it always worked before, is pattern they could depend on, is dynamic they built security on. Is empath always being there when avoidant return from withdrawal? But this time is different. This time withdrawal creates actual distance, creates empath not pursuing, creates empath not closing distance, creates empath not maintaining connection, creates empath letting withdrawal be actual withdrawal. And actual withdrawal is permanent, is final. Is empath being gone when avoidant expects empath to be waiting? And not waiting, empath is shock. Is avoidant returning from withdrawal expecting to find empath there, expecting dynamic to resume, expecting relationship to continue? But empath is gone, is actually gone, is permanently gone, is done because withdrawal was final straw. Was moment empath chose themselves? Was moment empath became dumper and became dumper during withdrawal? Is avoidant not seeing it coming? Not expecting it, not preparing for it, just creating usual distance, expecting usual response. But usual response is empath ending it. Is empath using withdrawal as moment to leave, to be done, to choose themselves, to enforce boundary, to dump avoidant, and dumped during what should have been temporary withdrawal is shock hitting hardest. Is them realizing their pattern just cost them relationship? Their withdrawal just created permanent distance. Their defended strategy just made empath leave, and left through their pattern as devastating shock. Is them facing their protection destroyed what mattered? Their safety strategy created ultimate unsafety. Their defended state created the abandonment it was designed to prevent, and created abandonment through defending against abandonment is ultimate shock, is complete shock. Is them being dumped through doing what they always do, and always do is revealed as relationship ending, as empath dumping, as them being left through their own pattern, And left through own pattern is shock that hits hardest, that devastates most completely, that shatters defended identity most thoroughly, because pattern was supposed to protect, was supposed to keep them safe, was supposed to prevent abandonment. But pattern created abandonment, created empath leaving, created them being dumped, and dumped through their protective pattern is ultimate shock. Shock also hits when they realize empath's patience had limit they never saw, never detected, never believed existed. They thought empath's understanding was infinite, thought empath's capacity to tolerate patterns was limitless. The thought limitless is assumption built on evidence, on empath staying through everything previously, on empath understanding through every withdrawal, on empath giving chance after chance after chance. The endless chances created belief empath would always give one more, would always understand one more time, would always stay through one more withdrawal. But one more was one too many, was final straw. Was moment patience ended, was moment understanding became boundary, was moment accommodation became self-protection, was moment empath chose themselves, and chose themselves is limit reached, is patience exhausted, is understanding expired, is accommodation ended. Is empath being done giving chances, done understanding patterns, done accommodating defended state, done sacrificing themselves? Just done, and done is limit avoidant, never saw coming, never detected approaching, never believed existed. Because empath seemed infinite, seemed endless, seemed limitless, but wasn't. Had limit, reached limit, enforced limit through leaving, through dumping, through choosing themselves. And chose themselves at limit is shock. Is avoidant facing empath's patience wasn't infinite. Empath's understanding wasn't endless, empath's capacity wasn't limitless, was finite, was exhaustible, was reached. And reached limit is them being dumped, is them experiencing consequence of assuming endless patience, assuming infinite understanding, assuming limitless accommodation, but limits exist. Limits were reached, limits were enforced through empath leaving. And left because limits reached is shock hitting hard, is devastating realization that empath had breaking point, had final straw, had moment where enough became too much. And too much is them being dumped, is them being left, is them experiencing empathy's limit. And experience limit through being dumped is ultimate shock, is complete shock, is them facing empath wasn't infinitely patient, wasn't endlessly understanding, wasn't limitlessly accommodating. Just was person with limits, person who reached limits, person who enforced limits through leaving, through dumping, through choosing themselves over continuing to accommodate, and chose themselves at reached limit is ultimate shock. What their defended mind cannot process about being dumped. Their defended mind cannot process that empath left for empath's sake, not as punishment. Cannot understand that empath's leaving is self-protection, not rejection. Cannot comprehend that empath chose themselves not against avoidant, but for themselves. The distinction is invisible to defended mind. Defended mind only sees empath left equals avoidant rejected, equals avoidant abandoned equals worst fear. Realized cannot see that empath left equals empath self-protected, equals empath honored themselves equals empath chose health. The cannot see is defended mind interpreting everything as about them, as being done to them, as being rejection of them, as being abandonment of them. But empath's leaving isn't about them, is about empath. Is empath protecting empath? Is empath choosing empath? Is empath honoring empath's needs over accommodating avoidance patterns? The empath-centered decision is what defended mind cannot process, cannot understand, cannot accept. Because defended mind needs empath's leaving to be about avoidant. Needs it to be punishment for patterns, needs it to be rejection of defended self, needs it to be abandonment proving they're unlovable. The needed narrative is defended mind protecting itself. Is making empath's self-protection into story about avoidant being rejected, story that confirms defended beliefs, story that validates defensive patterns, story that proves intimacy leads to abandonment, and proved through being dumped is defended mind using empath's self-protective choice as evidence that defended state was right, was necessary, was protecting them from this, even though defended state created this, created empath needing to leave, created empath dumping them, but cannot see created it is defended mind's protection, is keeping them from facing their responsibility, from facing their patterns, caused this, from facing their defended state, destroyed this, from facing their being dumped because they were impossible to be in relationship with. And impossible to be with is truth defended mind cannot process, cannot accept, cannot face, just interprets as empath abandoned them, empath rejected them, empath proved they're unlovable. And proved unlovable through being dumped is story defended mind tells. Story that protects, story that avoids responsibility. Story that makes empath's self-protection into avoidance victimization. And victimized narrative is what defended mind can process, can accept, can use to stay defended, can use to avoid growth, can use to prevent facing that being dumped is consequence. Is natural outcome, is result of patterns, is them experiencing what defended state creates being impossible to sustain relationship with, creates empath eventually choosing themselves, creates empath eventually leaving, eventually dumping, eventually being done. And done empath is consequence defended mind cannot process as consequence, can only process as abandonment, as rejection, as proof they were right to be defended. And right to be defended is what being dumped confirms in defended mind. Confirms instead of teaching, reinforces instead of transforming, validates instead of breaking open. And validated through being dumped is defended mind staying defended, staying protected, staying unable to see truth. Truth that being dumped by empath is consequence of their patterns, is result of their defended state, is outcome of their incapacity, is them experiencing what they created. Created through being defended, through staying defended, through choosing defended state over vulnerable relating. And chosen defended state is what cost them empath, what got them dumped. What made empath leave, but cost seen as abandonment is defended mind protecting itself from seeing cost, from seeing patterns destroyed this, from seeing defended state created this, from seeing they're responsible for being dumped. And responsible for being dumped is truth defended mind cannot process, cannot accept, cannot face, just stays shocked, stays defended, stays interpreting empath's self-protection as avoidance abandonment. And abandonment interpretation is defended mind staying defended through being dumped by empath. And staying defended through ultimate shock is tragedy. Is opportunity missed? Is lesson refused? Is growth avoided? Is them staying exactly who they were? Who created this? Who got dumped? And got dumped while staying defended is defended mind winning. Is defended state surviving? Is them being dumped and learning nothing, changing nothing, growing nothing, just staying defended, staying shocked, staying victimized. And victimized defended mind is ultimate tragedy of being dumped by empath. The stages they go through after empath dumps them. First stage is denial, is refusing to believe empath actually left, actually ended it, actually dumped them. The denial manifests as, this is temporary, this is empath needing space, this is empath testing them, this is empath wanting them to pursue. The manifestations are all denial-based, are all refusing to accept reality. Reality that empath is done, is finished, is choosing themselves, is maintaining the ending, is enforcing the dumping, is staying gone. The state gone is evidence that accumulates against denial, is empath not responding, not reconsidering, not giving another chance, not coming back, not resuming relationship, just staying done, staying boundaried, staying gone, and accumulating evidence slowly cracks denial. Slowly makes denial unsustainable, slowly forces them toward next stage. Second stage is anger, is them being furious empath left, furious empath dumped them, furious empath chose themselves, furious empath isn't accommodating anymore, furious empath enforced boundary, furious empath is gone. The anger is protection, is defense against pain underneath, is them making empath wrong for leaving, making empath wrong for self-protecting, making empath wrong for having boundaries, making empath wrong for being done. The making wrong is projection, is them unable to face their responsibility, unable to see their patterns cause this, unable to accept their defended state created this, unable to acknowledge they're being dumped because they were impossible to be with. The unable to acknowledge creates anger at empath, anger that empath gave up, anger that empath wasn't patient enough, anger that empath didn't understand enough, anger that empath is being selfish, being dramatic, being unfair, being wrong. The wrong empath is story anger tells, is protection from facing right empath, is protecting themselves, is choosing themselves appropriately, is enforcing boundaries healthily, is being done legitimately, and legitimate doneness is what anger protects them from seeing. From accepting, from facing, just stays angry, stays blaming, stays making empath wrong, and wrong empath through anger is second stage, is protection that eventually exhausts itself. That burns out. That leads to next stage. Third stage is bargaining, is them wanting another chance, wanting to prove they can be different, wanting to show they understand now, wanting to demonstrate they've changed. The wanting is desperation, is them facing they might actually lose empath permanently, is panic about consequence becoming real, is fear about abandonment happening. The fear and panic creates bargaining, creates promises to change, creates claims of understanding, creates demonstrations of different behavior, creates pursuit of empath, creates attempts to prove they deserve another chance, deserve to not be dumped, deserve empath-giving relationship another try. The deserve another chance is bargaining, is them trying to negotiate, trying to undo dumping, trying to reverse empath's decision, trying to make empath reconsider. The trying is desperation, is last attempt to avoid consequence, is fighting against being dumped, is refusing to accept empath is done, and refusal through bargaining is third stage. Is desperate attempt that usually fails, usually meets empath's maintained boundary, usually gets refused, usually results in empath staying done, staying gone, staying enforcing the dumping, and enforced dumping despite bargaining is failure. Is bargaining not working, is promises not mattering. Is pursuit not succeeding, is them facing empath is actually done, actually maintaining boundary, actually staying gone, and stayed gone despite bargaining leads to next stage. Fourth stage is depression, is grief, is facing loss is real, is permanent, is empath is gone and not coming back. The faced reality creates devastation, creates them sitting with loss, sitting with being dumped, sitting with consequence of their patterns, sitting with pain of abandonment, sitting with destruction of defended identity. The sitting with is depression, is grief, is them finally feeling the loss, finally facing the consequence, finally experiencing the pain, finally acknowledging the responsibility. The finally facing is fourth stage, is them broken open by being dumped, his defended state failing to protect them from pain, his walls unable to prevent devastation, his protection revealed as creating what it was meant to prevent. Created abandonment through defending against abandonment, created rejection through avoiding intimacy, created being dumped through being impossible to sustain relationship, with uncreated consequence through defended patterns is depression, teaching. Is grief showing, is pain revealing, revealing they're responsible, their patterns created this, their defended state destroyed this, they're being dumped because they were undumpable with, through their patterns making them impossible. And impossible made real through being dumped is depression stage, is grief stage, is them sitting with what they created, what they destroyed, what they lost empath, lost relationship, lost person who stayed longest, who understood most, who gave most chances, who accommodated most. And most accommodating person still left is devastating truth, is proof that even infinite seeming patience has limit, has breaking point, has moment where empath chooses themselves, and chose themselves is empath dumping them. Is empath being gone? Is them sitting with loss, with grief, with depression, with pain? And pain in depression stage is potentially transformative, is potentially breaking them open enough to pursue growth, to get therapy, to address patterns, to become capable, or pain is just suffering, just grief they sit with without transforming, without learning, without growing, just experiencing without using. And experienced without transformation is wasted pain, is grief that doesn't catalyze, is depression that doesn't lead anywhere, just suffering they endure. And endured suffering without growth is tragedy, is opportunity missed, is them staying who they were, who got dumped, who lost empath, who destroyed relationship. Just staying that, being that, remaining that, and remained unchanged is fifth stage. Fifth stage is either acceptance or bitterness. Either they accept empath is gone, accept they were responsible, accept their patterns caused this, accept they need to change, accept loss as teacher, accept being dumped as consequence, accept they destroyed something valuable, accept they lost someone rare. The acceptance is mature, is taking responsibility, is facing truth, is using loss as catalyst, is pursuing therapy, is doing work, is becoming different, is transforming through consequence. Is growing through pain, is becoming capable through facing incapability, and capable through acceptance is beautiful outcome. Is them using being dumped to transform, using empaths leaving to grow, using consequence to become different person. Person who could sustain relationship, person who could be vulnerable, person who could meet partner, person who could be with someone like empath, but becoming capable after empath is gone is tragedy within transformation. Is them growing too late? Is them changing after person who would have supported change is gone? Is them becoming worthy after losing person who saw their worth beneath unworthiness? And worthy too late is transformation happening without empath benefiting, without empath witnessing, without empath receiving better version, just happening for someone else, someone new, someone who gets transformed them while empath only got defended them, and defended them is what empath dumped, what empath couldn't sustain relationship with. What empath chose themselves over, and chose themselves over defended them, is empath protecting themselves from person avoidant was. And was is past, is who they're not anymore if acceptance leads to transformation. But transformation after dumping is too late for empath. Just teaches future. Just prevents future dumping. Just makes them capable for someone else. And someone else getting capable version is empath's loss and gift. Lost because empath's dumping created transformation, created growth, created capability. And created capability through dumping is acceptance stage when acceptance leads to growth. But most don't accept. Most become bitter, become resentful, become blaming, become victims, become stuck in story that empathy abandoned them, that empath gave up, that empath was unfair, that empath should have stayed, should have been more patient, should have understood better, should have accommodated longer. The should have is bitterness, is them refusing responsibility, refusing to see patterns caused this, refusing to accept defended state destroyed this, refusing to acknowledge their reason for being dumped, just blaming empath, resenting empath, making empath wrong, making empath the problem, making empath's self-protection into empath's failure. And empath's failure narrative is bitterness protecting them, protecting from growth, protecting from change, protecting from facing truth, truth that they created this, they destroyed this, they're responsible for being dumped, and responsible avoided through bitterness is them staying stuck, staying defended, staying unchanged, staying who they were when empath dumped them. And stayed who they were is them remaining impossible, remaining incapable, remaining defended, remaining person who will get dumped again by next person, by next empath, by next partner who has self-respect, who has boundaries, who has limits, who reaches limits, who chooses themselves, who dumps them, and dumped again is pattern, is consequence they'll keep experiencing, is them being dumped repeatedly until acceptance replaces bitterness, until responsibility replaces blame, until growth replaces defended stuckness, until transformation replaces bitter victimhood, until they become different, become capable, become person who doesn't get dumped, because capable, because vulnerable, because able to sustain intimacy, because worth staying with. And worth staying with is what they could become, through acceptance, through responsibility, through growth, through transformation, through using being dumped by empath as ultimate teacher, as ultimate catalyst, as ultimate shock that breaks them open, that transforms them, that makes them different, makes them capable, makes them worthy. But worthy through acceptance is rare outcome. Most stay bitter, stay defended, stay stuck, stay being person who got dumped, who will get dumped again, who deserves being dumped through refusing to change. And refused change through bitterness is tragedy, is ultimate shock wasted, is being dumped by empath teaching nothing, changing nothing, transforming nothing, just shocking, just devastating. Just experienced and experienced without transformation is them staying defended. Staying stuck, staying bitter, staying person empath was right to dump, right to leave, right to choose themselves over, and right to choose themselves over defended, bitter unchanged. Avoidant is truth, is empath being wise, being self-protecting, being boundaried, being choosing themselves appropriately, being dumping person who needed dumping. And needed dumping is them, is avoidant who got dumped, who experienced ultimate shock or embittered by shock, either growing or stuck, either accepting or blaming, either different or same. And same after ultimate shock is tragedy, is opportunity wasted, is them being dumped by empath and learning nothing, changing nothing, becoming nothing different, just remaining defended, remaining stuck. Remaining person who got dumped, and got dumped is ultimate shock. Is empath leaving? Is empath choosing themselves? Is empath ending it? Is empath being dumper? Is avoidant being dumped, and dumped by empath is ultimate shock. Is complete shock? Is identity shattering shock? Is defended state failing shock? Is control lost shock? Is them being on receiving end? Is them being left? Is them being abandoned? Is them experiencing what they do to others? Is role reversed shock? Is ultimate shock? Complete shock? Final shock? Devastating shock? Identity shattering shock? Ultimate shock of being dumped by empath. How being dumped forces them to see empath's strength they underestimated. Being dumped reveals empath's power they never saw, power they dismissed, power they minimized, power they took for granted. The underestimated power is visible now. Is undeniable through empath's ability to leave, through empath's capacity to enforce boundary, through empath's strength to choose themselves, through empath's courage to end relationship, through empath's self-respect to dump person they love. The self-respect to dump despite loving is power avoidant didn't know empath possessed, didn't see empath developing, didn't anticipate empath accessing, because empath presented as accommodating, as understanding, as patient, as willing to sacrifice. As person who stayed, and stayed person doesn't have power to leave, doesn't have strength to enforce boundaries, doesn't have courage to end things. Or so avoidant thought, but thought wrong is revealed through being dumped, through empath demonstrating power, through empath showing strength, through empath proving courage, through empath enforcing boundaries so complete it ended relationship avoidant, thought empath needed more than empath needed themselves. And needed themselves more as power. Is strength avoidant underestimated? Is courage avoidant dismissed? Is self-respect avoidant didn't see growing beneath accommodation, beneath understanding, beneath patience, was growing quietly, was developing silently, was strengthening invisibly, until strong enough to leave, strong enough to dump, strong enough to choose self over relationship. And chose self is strength revealed, is power demonstrated, is courage proven, is empath being stronger than avoidant ever imagined, than avoidant ever credited, than avoidant ever respected. And respected too late is them seeing empath strength through being dumped by that strength, through experiencing that power, through feeling that courage, through facing that self-respect. And face strength through being dumped is them learning empath was never weak, was never dependent, was never incapable of leaving, just was choosing to stay, was choosing to accommodate, was choosing to understand, was choosing to be patient. But choosing to stay is different from unable to leave. And unable to leave is what avoidant assumed. Assumed empath couldn't leave, couldn't dump them, couldn't choose themselves, couldn't enforce boundary. But assumptions destroyed by reality. By empath leaving, by empath dumping, by empath choosing themselves, by empath enforcing boundaries so strong it ended relationship. And ended relationship through empath's strength is avoidant learning. Learning empath was always strong, always capable, always able to leave. Just wasn't leaving, was staying through choice, not through weakness. Through love, not through dependence. Through hope, not through inability. An inability assumed but actually choice is them seeing empathy's strength retroactively. Seeing accommodation was gift, not weakness. Seeing patience was strength, not dependence. Seeing understanding was choice, not inability to leave. And choice to stay revealed through choice to leave is them understanding empath's power. Understanding too late. Understanding after being dumped. Understanding through experiencing the strength they underestimated. The power they dismissed, the courage they minimized, the self-respect they took for granted, and granted for taken is revealed as mistake through being dumped. Through empath's strength dumping them. Through empath's power leaving them. Through empath's courage ending relationship. Through empath's self-respect choosing empath over avoidant. And chosen empath over avoidant is ultimate demonstration of strength. Avoidant underestimated. Of power avoidant dismissed. Of courage avoidant minimized, and minimized strength dumping them is lesson. Is teaching. Is them learning empath was always powerful. Just wasn't wielding power against them, was wielding power for relationship, for maintaining connection, for sustaining bond. But power for relationship is same power for self when relationship requires self-sacrifice. When maintaining connection costs self-respect. When sustaining bond demands boundary violation. And demanded boundary violation is when power shifts. When empath stops wielding power for relationship and starts wielding power for self. And power for self is dumping, is leaving, is choosing themselves, is enforcing boundary, is empath being strong enough to walk away. And walked away from is them experiencing empath's strength, is them being left by empath's courage, is them being chosen against by empath's self-respect. And self-respected empath dumping them is strength they underestimated, is power they dismissed, is courage they minimized, is self-respect they took for granted. And took for granted revealed as profound mistake through being dumped. Through experiencing consequence of underestimating. Through facing reality that empath was always strong enough to leave, just wasn't leaving, was staying, was choosing them. But chose them is past tense, is over, is empath now choosing themselves. And chose themselves is present tense, is current reality, is them being dumped by strength they underestimated, by power they dismissed, by courage they minimized, by self-respect they took for granted. And granted for taken, strength now dumping them is ultimate lesson about empath's power. About empath's capacity, about empath's strength, strength that was always there, just wasn't used against them, was used for them. For relationship, for connection, but used for relationship is over, is empath using strength for themselves now, and themselves chosen is them being dumped. Is them experiencing empath's power, is them learning empath's strength, is them facing they underestimated wrong person, dismissed wrong power, minimized wrong strength, took for granted wrong self-respect. And wrong everything is them being dumped. Is them being left, is them being on receiving end of strength they never saw coming, never anticipated wielding against them, never imagined empath possessed to this degree, but possessed to dumping degree is empath's strength, is empath's self-respect. And self-respected, powerful, courageous, strong empath is person who dumped them, who left them, who chose themselves over them, who enforced boundary against them, and against them is them being on wrong side. Is them being dumped side? Is them being left side? Is them experiencing side they put others on? And experienced own medicine is ultimate shock, is complete shock, is them being dumped by strength they underestimated in person they took for granted. And taken for granted person's underestimated strength, dumping them is ultimate lesson, ultimate shock, ultimate revelation, ultimate teaching about empath's power, about empath's capacity, about empath's strength to leave, to dump, to choose self, to enforce boundary. To be gone, to stay gone, to maintain dumping despite avoidance shock, despite avoidance disbelief, despite avoidance inability to accept. Just maintain, just enforce. Just stay chosen self, and chosen self maintained is empath's strength persisting. Is empath's power enduring? Is empath's courage lasting? Is empath's self-respect permanent? Permanent enough to stay dumped, stay left, stay gone, stay boundaried, stay chosen self. And chosen self stayed is empath's ultimate strength, is power that doesn't waver, is courage that doesn't falter, is self-respect that doesn't bend, just stays, stays strong, stays powerful, stays courageous, stays self-respected, stays dumping avoidant, and dumping maintained is empath's strength proven, is empath's power demonstrated, is empath's courage shown. Is empath's self-respect enforced? And enforced through maintained dumping is strength avoidant can't deny, can't dismiss, can't minimize, can't take for granted, just has to face, has to experience, has to learn from, has to be shocked by. And shocked by empath's strength is ultimate shock, is complete shock, is them learning empath was never weak, never dependent, never unable to leave, just was choosing to stay until choosing to stay cost too much. Cost self-respect, cost self, and cost self is when staying became leaving, when accommodation became boundary, when understanding became dumping, when patience became done, and done through strength is empath's power, is what dumped them, is what left them, is what shocked them, is what taught them, taught that empath was strong, that accommodation was choice, that staying was gift, that understanding was strength, that patience was power, and power underestimated is what dumped them, what left them, what shocked them completely. What they lose forever by being dumped by empath. They lose access to person who saw their potential, who believed in who they could become, who held space for growth that never came, who waited for transformation that never developed. The person who saw potential is rare, is special, is empath-specific quality, is seeing wounded person beneath defended person, is recognizing scared person beneath distant person, is understanding protected person beneath rejecting person. The seeing beneath is gift, is empath's gift specifically, is ability to see through patterns to wound, through defense to fear, through rejection to protection, and protection seen as protection rather than rejection seen as rejection. Is empath understanding them? Is empath seeing them? Is empath knowing them in ways others don't know them, can't know them, won't try to know them? But empath tried, empath saw. Empath understood, and understood deeply is what they're losing. What being dumped costs them, what leaving empath means, they'll never have again, because person who sees that deeply is rare, is special, is not replaceable with casual connection, with surface relationship, with defended distance with new person. New person won't see beneath, won't understand deeply, won't know wounded self beneath defended self, will just experience defended self, will just face patterns, will just encounter distance, will just meet rejection, and met rejection without seeing beneath is new person leaving faster. Dumping sooner, being done quicker, because new person doesn't have empath's capacity to see potential, to believe in growth, to wait for transformation, to hope for capacity, just has capacity to experience patterns, to face defended state, to encounter impossibility, and encountered impossibility leads to dumping, to leaving, to being done, but being done by new person happens faster, happens without years of chances, happens without deep understanding, just happens. And happened faster is them never having again what they had with empath, never having person who saw potential, who believed in them, who waited for them, who hoped for them, and hoped for them by empath, is lost, is gone through being dumped, is never again through empath leaving. And never again having person who sees potential is permanent loss, is forever consequence, is them losing rarest thing, losing person who saw beneath defended surface to wounded depth, and wounded depth seen as gift they took for granted. Gift they didn't honor, gift they destroyed through patterns, and destroyed gift is permanent loss, is never again loss, is them never having person like empath again, person who sees, who understands, who waits, who hopes, who believes, and believed in is what empath did, what empath offered. What empath gave, and gave belief is lost through being dumped, is gone through empath leaving, is never again through empath choosing themselves, and chose themselves ending their belief is permanent loss, is forever consequence, is them losing person who saw their potential forever, who believed in their growth permanently, who waited for their transformation endlessly until waiting ended, until belief died, until hope exhausted, until seeing potential became protecting self, and protected self dumping them is them losing forever the person who saw them most deeply, understood them most completely, believed in them most thoroughly, waited for them most patiently, and patiently waited is over, is lost, is gone through being dumped, and dumped by person who saw potential is losing rarest gift, most precious seeing, deepest understanding, most patient waiting, all lost, all gone, all ended through being dumped. And dumped is permanent loss of person who saw potential they never developed, believed in growth that never came, waited for transformation that never happened, hoped for capacity that never emerged. And never emerged capacity is why empath left, why empath dumped them, why empath chose themselves. And chose themselves is empath protecting empath from waiting forever for potential that's never becoming actual, for growth that's never happening, for transformation that's never coming, for capacity that's never developing, and never developing is empath accepting. Is empath choosing themselves over hoping forever, and hoped forever until couldn't is empath's loss too. Is empath losing hope, losing belief, losing sight of potential, losing capacity to wait, and lost capacity to wait is empath's boundary. Is empath self-protection? Is empath self-respect? Is empath dumping person whose potential never became reality, whose growth never materialized, whose transformation never occurred, whose capacity never developed, and never developed is permanent reality? Is who avoidant remained? Is who avoidant stayed? Is who got dumped? And got dumped while remaining defended is them losing person who saw beneath defended, who believed in more than defended, who waited for transformation of defended. But transformation never came. So dumping came instead, and came dumping instead of transformation is permanent loss, is forever consequence, is them never having again what empath gave, what empath offered, what empath was, person who saw, who believed, who hoped. All lost, all gone. All ended through being dumped by empath. And dumped by empath is ultimate loss, is complete loss, is permanent loss, is them losing rarest person, most understanding person, most patient person, most believing person. All lost through being dumped. Through empath leaving, through empath choosing themselves, through empath protecting themselves from waiting forever for potential that never becomes reality, and never becomes reality as them, is who they stayed, is who they remained. Is defended person who got dumped by empath, who saw beneath defended, and saw beneath but still dumped, is empath strength, is empath self-respect. Is empath seeing potential but choosing self over waiting for potential forever, and chose self over waiting forever, is empath dumping them. Is empath leaving them, is empath being gone, is empath being done, is ultimate shock, is complete loss, is permanent consequence, is them being dumped by person who saw them most deeply, and still chose themselves despite seeing deeply, is empath's ultimate strength. Is empath's complete self-respect, is empath's permanent boundary, is empath being done despite seeing potential, despite believing once, despite waiting years, despite hoping endlessly, all ended, all stopped, all transformed into dumping, into leaving, into choosing self, into being done. And done despite everything empath saw is ultimate shock, is them being dumped by person who saw everything and still left, still chose themselves, still ended it, still dumped them. And dumped by person who saw everything is ultimate shock, is complete shock, is total shock, is them being left by person who understood most, dumped by person who saw deepest, ended by person who believed longest, and longest believer ending belief is shock. Is loss, his permanent consequence, is them never having again what empath was, what empath gave, what empath offered, what empath saw. All gone, all lost, all ended, through being dumped, through empath leaving, through empath choosing themselves, through ultimate shock, complete shock. Permanent shock, final shock, devastating shock, identity-shattering shock, life-changing shock, forever shock of being dumped by empath, by person who saw, who understood, who believed, who waited, all ending in dumping, in leaving, in choosing self, in being done, in ultimate shock, shock of being dumped, shock of empath leaving, shock of being on receiving end, shock of experiencing what they do to others, shock of role reversed, shock of identity shattered, shock of control lost, shock of being abandoned when they're supposed to be abandoner, shock of being left when they're supposed to be leaver, shock of being dumped when they're supposed to be dumper. All shock, all ultimate, all complete, all permanent, all devastating, all from being dumped by empath, from empath choosing themselves, from empath having strength they underestimated, from empath having power they dismissed, from empath having self-respect they took for granted. All shocking them, all devastating them, all being ultimate shock, complete shock, final shock, permanent shock of being dumped by empath who saw everything and still chose themselves, and chose themselves as empath's victory, is empath's strength, is empath's power, is empath's self-respect, is empath freedom, is empath being done, being gone, being dumper, being one who left, being one who chose self, being one who enforced boundary, being one who ended it, being one who shocked avoidant completely, utterly, permanently. Through ultimate shock of being dumped by empath,